Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Big Money Stylist podcast. This is a very exciting week for us, mainly because there's just two of us. If I recall correctly, last week Garrett was throwing a little bit of shade saying, I'm the only one dedicated. I'm the only one that shows up.
Interesting.
I don't
how quickly the turn of events happened.
I don't
Things
see
changed
any
a little.
Don't see any Garrett here, but that's fine. Garrett and Danielle are currently on vacation with their family, so good for them. It's freezing, but it's totally fine. So if you are new here, we are actually on episode number 8 right now.
Time's flying, man.
It's been 2 months we've been doing this, and that's actually blowing my mind every time I think about it. So, like I said, if you're new here, every single week we go through a different topic. The very first one is power. Power to me is finding the place where you can stand and own the authority inside of your business, your home, your life, your family. That's what power is to me. Last week, we went over production. Val, what's production to you?
Production's the actual doing. So it's your marketing, the sales, closing the sales, and then delivering of whatever you are marketing and closing and accepting the money on. So the actual work of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Today, we're going to be hitting on the very third step, which is profit itself. So profit, I feel, it's generally money. I feel like it's whatever the hard work you're doing, it's what you're reaping the benefits of that hard work. What do you think?
Totally, exactly. Reaping the benefits. So it means different things to different people. Obviously, monetary is the most obvious answer, but we'll dive into that later. We're definitely going to see some other ways that you have profit.
Yeah. And then on top of that, next week, we're going to go right back into protection, which is protecting everything that you've worked for. You've already busted your ass, you're reaping the benefits, you see the profit. Don't just let it all go to shit and give up on it. So with that, though, we have some very, very exciting news. Val?
We sold out of all of our classes of BMS for the first half of the year. It's insane. It went by so fast. I'm it's only mid-February and we already sold out of all of them. And we're not just doing some months, we're doing 4 freaking classes. So super exciting. I like that everyone's interested in what we're doing and we're not selling anyone on anything. The results are speaking for itself. And I like that it's spreading. It's this wave of positivity that's going in our industry right now, and people are getting results. People are excited about the industry again. People are excited about the money that they're making, the freedom that is coming with it. So I love hearing the class is amazing, but I love hearing weeks and months down the road to hear the results of our students and what they've accomplished and how much it has changed their lives. That's what makes I feel our jobs as trainers so fulfilling. So I'm loving that it's having this rippling long-term effect, and everyone else is more people are joining in on the NBR tribe. And God, I can't even see where we're gonna be in June.
I have no idea. And something that I also think is very cool is we did not promote or advertise the BMS classes at all.
I know. Everyone's do you have a list of dates? I'm no. We're just doing it organically.
Yep, we spent zero money on advertising. We didn't do shit. It's just as BMS keeps growing and people keep coming in, then they keep posting more. And it's not even just people are talking about it. It's like Val said, they're actually seeing the results of what we're doing. This is it's just getting bigger and bigger. And that's what I think is so cool about all of this.
I know. The results speak for themselves. So you have us behind you, coaching you and guiding you to get to the results that you're wanting to get. But once you yourself are doing the hard work, your potential is endless. And I'm loving just seeing everyone, the different directions that they're taking with the curriculum that we're providing them. And it's a really exciting time, I feel for the whole industry. Danielle's always been saying, we're changing the industry. And in the beginning, I'm yeah, okay. But now I'm holy shit, we are. This is amazing.
This is actually a game changer.
Yeah.
And so if you are new here and you're not sure what BMS is, so BMS is Big Money Stylist, which is the podcast that you're on right now. And with that, the curriculum itself is, I always say half of it is natural beaded rows and the methodology and how to do it and to really get your niche and figure out how to do the NBR itself. And then the other half are business and marketing tactics. And I feel this day and age when people hear that, they're oh, you're going to tell me to post on Instagram? I'm we know a lot more in depth than just
what's the current hashtags you should be using?
And that is stuff we hear all the time. So that's why I tell people it's not just about post on Instagram or post on Facebook. We give you some legitimate tactics to take home and execute and do.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, I am a firm believer in everything we teach and everything we do, because when I started off BMS as a student. It was the first class ever. It literally never existed before. So I came here on hope and a prayer, honestly, that I wasn't paying all this money and I was just going to get told, you should use an extra hashtag. Okay. Well,
that's what's missing from your career.
If you would hashtag a couple more, that would be great. But really, I feel like a lot of artists, they concentrate on what's not important and they get so sidetracked by, well, Instagram changed their algorithm and now no one cares. I'm like, well, figure out a different way. Like, marketing's marketing, you know? So with that, so very exciting news. BMS intensive events, which are our small 2-day events. We max out at 20 people. We are officially sold out throughout the summer. Those classes will not be back until fall, and we are not releasing those dates. So for anyone who's going to ask, you'll find out later. But we have something else coming up, which is just as exciting if you ask me.
BMS convention!
Part 2! It's going down. So this past December at Huntington Beach, California, we had our very first BMS convention ever. We had 165 artists come down for 3 days, and it was fucking awesome. It
really was. Like, that was one of the coolest events. Like, leading up to it, I feel like it was the most, like, stress I've ever felt in my life, like, getting prepped for it. And I was like, I think I'm going to die before convention happens, because there was so much in that getting prepped for it entailed, and so much growth, like, on the inside for me to get to that point. And then BMS happened, and the energy with all the students in the room and all the trainers, and getting to see some of the mastermind students come back as trainers, just the whole entire experience. It was 3 days. It felt like 3 months, but in the best way. And it changed me forever, but it's definitely like one of the coolest experiences I've been a part of. Mm-hmm. And I am definitely like a different person since convention.
Oh, yeah. And I actually have all of the footage of convention at my house. And there are times that I go back and rewatch it for training that we need. And I'm like, man, that was fucking cool. Like, it was just insane. You have to imagine a room, for any stylists that are listening. You know how it is with big classes. You sit down, you watch a model, you take some notes, you leave, and you're like, I learned nothing. So That's great. No, that's not what convention is to us. It was 165 men and women in one big-ass giant ballroom, everybody doing hands-on practice. I mean, at some point we were throwing mannequin heads. Like, I mean, it just turned into mayhem by the very last day. But like Val said, those 3 days felt like a year, but it also felt like 3 minutes to me. Because by the end, I'm like, this is it? We're done? Like, we're not... Okay, we're packing up. All right, we're doing it. Guess this is over.
And if you're listening and you're thinking, like, maybe that's something I want to do, the price point for BMS convention is $1,000. It's way cheaper. Mm-hmm. And we deliver the same experience, the same curriculum. We do hands-on training, which, you know, if you go to a class with 150 people or more, we're doing 300 this time. We're doing hands-on training, and we're getting extra trainers involved so that you're still in, like, intimate pods and getting, like, quality training for what you're doing. And it's the same exact curriculum. It's just leveled up on intensity, because there's 300 other stylists there. So it's not as like in depth with each person in their numbers, but you're still given the same exact things that you are at our intensive, but it's just on like a much bigger scale. It's the vibe of it is like no other. And like, we live for BMS, everything BMS, obviously it's like our lives. And I can't pick like a favorite. I love the small intensive ones because you get to know everyone, and it's so intense and down to like your numbers, and so detailed and personalized for you. But the convention, like, it's like a party, a learning experience. It's life-changing and altering. It's just beyond amazing. So if you've been thinking about BMS for a while, like, I feel like this is a perfect way to like dip your toes in and see like if this is what it's like, if it's for you. And I'm pretty sure it will be. Once you come, you'll be a changed person. And
oh yeah. And especially because I know a lot of people, this is something funny because this sounds terrible, and I've told Danielle this, so it's fine. When I first heard about NBR, I actually thought it was a scam. I did not know what to think. I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. Those pictures are way too pretty. That was for sure Photoshop. I didn't believe it. So I said, screw it. I'm going to take the online course, which we no longer offer now. But I said, I'm going to take it. I'm going to see what it's about. If she steals my money and this is all horseshit, won't fine. Like, that's terrible karma for her, but so be it. And I took it, and I just fell in love. So that's why, just like Val said, if you're curious to know about BMS and what it is we actually offer and the business and marketing portion, or even if you're curious to learn about NBR and know more about the method itself and get actual hands-on training, this is literally the perfect time to do it. Tickets went on sale yesterday. If you're interested, go to bigmoneystylist.com and you can watch a little movie there about what we did last year at BMS convention. It's so amazing. That's something I just speak of with pure happiness and joy because it was the best experience ever. So, so like I said, you can go check it out. And this is, exactly what Val said. It's a great way to just see what it's about. And it's at Huntington Beach, California. It's at the Paseo Hotel. And it's just going to be, such a good time. And we're actually having 3 conventions this year.
I'm ready.
This is going to be a really great year for us. So that is our lovely, I forgot you can hear every noise you make in here. That was my clap.
Cool clap.
So, there we go. So along with that, those are our 2 very big announcements. So let's jump back into what we're actually planning on talking about this week, which is profit.
Woohoo!
We're doing it. So we were back on this topic. It was a month ago because we hit it once every single month. And profit, I feel, is something that's super important to stylists because it's not just, definitely it's about money. We say that we would love to do the art for free because we love it and it's fun and it's easy for us and it's just, it's such a good time. But at the end of the day, fun and happiness don't pay your bills. And that's what it really comes down to. You can't go to your bank and say, I had a great time this week. Can I pay my mortgage with that? That would be great. So we're going to be talking definitely about numbers today, but even more than that, what profit actually is. So Val, profit to you, what is it?
Profit is like a result of all of your hard work that you put in. So it's like a reflection of what you did because of your power and because of what you produced. So the end result of that.
Yeah. And not only that, we said it earlier, but it's reaping the benefits. You went through the first stage, you found your power, you found a place where you're like, I'm going to own this, I'm going to own my business, I'm going to own what I'm doing. And that's something that our students have to deal with a lot. And realistically, it's not ever easy. No. We are hard on them, I feel. Well, I'm hard on them. Val's the loved one. I'm the mean one, but that's okay. So she's like, ding, I'm so cute. I'm like the fucking troll under the bridge who's like trying to burn it down, apparently. So
no, you're Velvet Hammer.
I am. I'm tough with love, but inside business, there are never easy decisions to be made, and especially with artists, whether it's you don't want to provide a service anymore or you want to up your prices, which is the hardest thing in the world for stylists to do. That is just, you mention when's the last time you upped your prices and they immediately break into a sweat and they can't even look at you because they're like, well,
and then the story begins. I'm like, we were just looking for a date.
Yep. And they're like, well, I was going to do it one time 16 years ago on January 3rd, but then it snowed. And I took that as a sign that I shouldn't do it. I'm like, okay, well, that was
We've all been
years
there.
Ago. Oh, hey, I've done it too. I will never forget when BMS, I started and they were like, you need to up your prices. I was like, I'm going to have no clients. Oh my God. It was pure panic central. But the harder decisions, the more I found my power, the more that I started to produce, the more profit that I saw. I ended up seeing more and more results across the board. And that's really what it came down to. And that's what helped me to continue to push and go forward, was seeing the results of all the hard work, all of the hard decisions, because that's something that we have to continue to do.
I know. I feel like a lot of people in the industry, they'll be saying like, oh, I'm working so hard, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But like my account isn't reflecting that. It's like, well, then you got to figure out what that missing component is that you're missing, that your profit isn't reflecting all your hard work. And are you working that hard? So I feel like that's what BMS does, is it gives you like this system of how to get there so that you can see a profit that like you're proud of and you're like, that does reflect all the hard work I've been putting in.
Because I think it's a very interesting conversation that stylists have. They tend to say, when you say, well, how's your business? They're like, I work 6 days a week, 12-hour days.
Yeah.
I'm so booked. I'm super busy. And then when I hear that, I'm like, you're working how much? Like, oh, fuck, that sounds
not as fun.
That does not sound like, I don't want to work 12-hour days, 6 days a week. Like, that sounds actually awful. But I feel like we've been so brainwashed into thinking that the more we work, the better it is, because that's just how it is. That it's, you have to be behind the chair a lot and have 1 million clients and do, 15 clients a day and work 12-hour days, and that's how you're successful. But once you do that and then you look at your bank account, you're like, where is the rest of my money that I was told I would have by working 1 million hours a week?
Right.
That is a big problem. So with that, we're going to move on to the second topic in regarding profit, and that is numbers themselves. So I personally am a very big fan of numbers. I love numbers. I have so many spreadsheets everywhere that can track my income all the way back to 2013. So in the general sense of it, what are numbers to you?
Now. Before, I couldn't give a shit about numbers. I'm like, that kind of stresses me out. I don't want to know. I'll just like deposit money in the account, think positively, and shit's going to work out for me.
Do you think that that's something really common with artists or even people in general?
Totally artists. I feel like people in general, like people don't like to look at the truth of the numbers. And like we always say, numbers don't lie. And it's like a very real slap in the face when you're looking at it because they really are telling you a story of where you're at. But I think as artists, we are, like, I feel like I'm like that typical artist. Like, I have the attention span of a gnat. Like, I'm always, like, in the middle of a sentence. Even in here, you'll notice I'll be, like, talking, and then it's like, where'd Val go? Like, I trail off, and I've just always then gotten rid of so many things, just been like, oh, that's fine. It's just because I'm an artist, or I'm flighty, I'm spacey, I'm this, and, like, not held myself accountable to, like, well, artists don't do numbers, Mm-hmm. And so I just made a lot of excuses for why I didn't track numbers and do all of that. Like, that's not me. I'm like a free spirit. I don't do numbers, but that didn't work out so great for me.
Yeah, and I know even for myself, it was because I would go through, and I still have the planner at my house, but I would go through and write down every single month the amount of money that I made. So that to me was very cool. And I've literally just always been that way. I've always loved numbers because to me, it does just paint a story. It tells you exactly where you're at, exactly what you're doing, and if what you're doing is or generally is not working as well. So when I've been going through and tracking my numbers, I can look month by month per year because stylists, we're notorious for January is sometimes, it's generally a slow month because it's after the holidays. They feel broke or they're like, it's cold. I don't want to go anywhere. So whatever. I respect it. It's very cold here now. And so that's how they feel. And so I would go through and look at my January and be like, well, 3 years ago, I was making garbage money. And then I started making more. And by the time I saw that my number started doubling, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Clearly what I'm doing is working. And that always gives me the push to want to do more. But had I never looked at the numbers, that's so stressful.
Right.
And so one thing I think is really cool that a lot of like the artists that we have, because we tell them, you can do an NBR client in 3 hours, charge $1,500, or you can do a men's cut in 30, 45 minutes and charge, let's say, $50. Okay, well, you would think because one of them is a shorter time, it would be a better option, but it's just not. So I feel like, what is the fear you see with artists whenever they decide to start dropping clients or they decide to start moving in a different direction and then having them actually look at their numbers?
I think it's just, like you had said in the beginning of the podcast, that we've been trained that the busier you are, the more successful you are. So I think a lot of people go in with that mindset, like, well, I'm busy, my books are full. Like, if I have space, and that's not good. But you're creating space to put in a higher end, like, client that's going to obviously, like, raise your numbers. So I think, one, it's, like, having that gap in that space that they panic. And then, two, like, just the scarcity of clients that they might not be having, like, if they're not up on their marketing and all of that, they might not be having more clients knocking on the door to come and sit in their chair. Mm-hmm. So, and I think just in the beginning, there's so much like shame. Like, I know that's how not shame, but just I wasn't aware of my numbers to like how you are. You're like, I knew back in 2013. And I'm like, oh, it's like,
where was I in 2013?
Right? I don't even know. So it's just we're so detailed with the numbers. So I feel like when we go to the students and we're like, how much money did you make last week? How many clients did you see? How many hours did you work? How many services did you do? Like we're down to like the nitty gritty. They kind of are like not used to that. So just that catches them kind of off guard. And they're like, well, I don't want to share this. And it always comes the very first time we do that with a story. Everyone releases their number with a story and an excuse. And we're like, we are not coming from a place of judgment. This is your starting point. This is where you're at. And we're going to get you, but we're going to see what are realistic goals to get you to your next step. And then you might reach those goals faster than you thought. You might realize that the goals you had in your head weren't really realistic from where your actual starting point is. But we just need to find a starting point. But I think because we're not used to doing that it comes with like, we've seen it. And I know I felt that way. It comes with like guilt and shame. And then like, let me attach this story so you're not judging me, Oh,
yeah. And also as human beings in general, we're told that you don't share the income that you make. Like, you don't talk about money. It's so taboo. And if you're one of those people that you do say like, oh, well, hey, this is what I made, people are like, wow, you're so trashy. You're telling me how much money you made. And it's like, well, just, And so that's why here inside of BMS, the talk of money is something very common. And I literally just sat down this morning looking at 123 students, all of mine right now. I can tell you exactly what they made down to the penny because they all turn in their numbers every single week. And that's not for, like Val said, it's not coming from a place of judgment because there was a point in time where I was making less money than every single person in the group right now. So when they're like, don't judge me, I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I wasn't making 5 figures a month like forever. Like this is a new recent thing for me in the past year because I was fucking hustling. Before, I would look at my bank account and be like, wah, wah. That's a sad. That's really, I'm like, okay, did I spend it or is it just never there? Never there?
It never came in? Okay.
Got it. Okay. They're just, good thing I'm very tired for nothing. That's delightful. But like I said, inside BMS, this is just a very common talk, but it really does help. So when the students come to us, because inside we don't just do like NBR. It's not like, oh, how do I color this weft? It's so much more, and it comes down to even their life. I know everything about my students. I was actually on the phone with one of my students this morning for about an hour, hour and a half, walking her through a warrior stack, which is basically just a list of questions that kind of help you find clarity in a situation so you can move forward and you move forward with purpose as opposed to just being fucking angry and pissed off. We sat there 6 o'clock this morning for an hour and a half talking and going through it because shit was tough. But that at that point was going to start affecting her. It was going to start affecting the power that she had, any production, which ultimately affects the profit as well.
Right.
So that's something that I think is very cool that we continue to do inside of BMS. Is just, it's all encompassing. But money, I don't think should ever be taboo. I think it should be okay to talk about. I mean, I'm not saying write it on your forehead and walk around with it.
Definitely. But it's a fact. It's like when you're saying like how tall you are, how anything, like how many clients did you see? How much money did you make last week? Like there shouldn't be any story or like feeling really attached to it.
Yeah.
And so
it's just a number.
I think that's where we come from a place with BMS is that we're always like, we need to see where you're starting at, because if we don't know where you're at, we can't make our next steps in our game plan and our goals to help you get your better life.
One of our students who actually just recently left our class in February. We're only in February. I'm like, it was like March, April. I'm like, nope, just still February. Okay, that's fine. But she was one of our students in February. I talked to her afterwards, and she had said, you know, when I looked at my numbers, I said, how'd you feel? She goes, I fucking hated it. I said, why? She goes, I didn't realize I made such little money. She goes, because we even have them break it down like how much you make per hour, because some styles, they're like, I made $1,000 today. I worked 13 hours. I'm like, did you do the math on that, homie? Because fuck, like, damn, you know, that's super stressful and really hard. She goes, I always thought that I made more. And then when I really went down and looked at it, she's like, I didn't. I was like, I get it. So that's why I'm personally numbers obsessed.
Yeah.
It's a factual story. There's no emotions behind it. There's no feelings. It's a fact. Here's where you are. Here's what you're doing. Here's how much you're working. Cool. This is where you want to be. Here's the fucking game plan.
Yep.
So with that, game plans and money and students loving or not liking the money they made, I've been on both ends, so I get it all.
Same.
Yep. And I think it's people look at us sometimes and they're like, psh, of course it's easy for them. They live in Laguna. They're working for Danielle. I came from St. Louis working by myself. So I had to bust ass and build my business all by myself. You were handed nothing.
I know. I think a lot of people did think that I just started working at DKW and then I was like handed a clientele, and Danielle's like, let me see you run. Like, you know, like, so here's the queen of NVR doing clients nonstop. And I'm like, just moved here. I dumped all my clientele and I have to like refill my books. So this is fun. And I have to like not only build up a clientele, but build up a clientele side by side of like the person who created it. And I was always like, oh my God, no one's going to ever pick to come to me when like they have the choice of like, Danielle, this is, why did I sign up for this? But it like drove me, you know, to fill up my books. But yeah, nothing was handed. It's a great opportunity, definitely, that was presented to me and all of that. But there was no like, I know people have said that I'm just like handed like, oh, we're busy at DKW. Here's clientele.
And it's actually the complete opposite, because we truly believe if you're handed something, you just don't appreciate it. You don't have, like, that's why for me, even being down here in California, every single day when I drive to work, I pass the beach because I live so close to it, but I'm just like, holy fucking shit, this is my life. This is insane. All the hard work, everything I've done has led to here, but I appreciate it so much more because I know I earned it. Nothing was handed to me.
Right.
Nothing was handed to Val. Nothing was ever handed to Danielle or Garrett. Like, no one on the team has ever not earned their place here.
Definitely.
And that's why we've been asked before. Well, someone asked me, one of our students asked me yesterday, how is it that you guys just have such a great crew? What do you guys do? I'm like, we fucking bust ass.
Yeah. And I think that makes a difference, because if there is a weak link on the team, they're gone, but all of us are there, and no one comes in with an expectation of anything's going to be handed to them. We all know, because Danielle and Garrett, we know their story. We know they fucking worked hard. They came from like hard times, and they've built what they have. And if you want to run with them, by all means, you have like the best support system ever, but you will fucking run, and nothing's going to get handed. So everyone comes in with this work ethic and no sense of entitlement. And that's how we have such a great team. We have great leaders. And then each new person that comes along, like, they have these examples too of like, okay, Danielle and Garrett like ran, and then Val came in and she was like running, and you came in, and Stacy, like everyone that's come in since, it's just everyone knows you have to pull your own weight. No one wants to be the weak link, and we're running all the time.
Garrett even told me, he said, when you were living in St. Louis, you were on a treadmill at like level 4. When you came, the minute you stepped foot in California, you jumped off that treadmill, hopped onto another one, and you've been sprinting at a level 12. He's like, and it hasn't fucking stopped. I said, I'm aware, but I fucking love it. I'm like, let's do more. Another podcast, done. Add 3 more classes from here until June, done. Let's do this shit. Like, it's just... It's such a great place to be. It's never ending.
But it's addicting, because you see in your power, and then what you're producing, and then you look at your profit and you're like, well, I can't stop now,
And that's the thing. There's literally no stopping. And it's not even just the money. Like right now, my life, like I look at it and I'm like, holy fucking shit. I moved to a state that I had never been in until 2016. So that blows my mind. And to me, it's one of those like postcard places that you're like, oh, that would be cool to visit. People go there sometimes. And now I'm like, no, I live here. And that's the part of the profit that I'm seeing even now. And so I feel like I always mix in between like protection mode to protect everything, and then back to production. And like, these 4 steps, I'm constantly jumping back and forth every day. Like, okay, this is the power that I have now. This is what I'm going to produce. This is what it's going to give me the result. And then here's how I protect it and fucking go forward again.
Definitely.
And it's never ending. So with, as you just kind of touched base on, Danielle and Garrett, they didn't always come from this place. Like, this is something that they built up. And I think something really interesting, a conversation that we have often, is one of abundance versus scarcity. And those are 2 very interesting topics, because I feel as human beings, as artists, just as people, this is something that we jump back and forth from constantly. But it's also something that inside of your mind, you have to change and switch. So Val.
Yes.
The topic of scarcity. What is scarcity?
That you don't have enough of something. So I know for me, like, I would used to see people who were successful at anything, whether it was like an actress, a singer, a successful hairstylist, anything. And I either thought like they got an inheritance or they had an in somewhere. I never realized like how much hard work goes into so many like people and their industry and their craft, and that anyone actually can do it. It takes like the hard work, and it takes a lot, but it actually is more achievable than like I thought. I don't know, I grew up not in a bad life whatsoever. I like loved my life and my family, and came from like a really like strong family unit, but that was what I knew, and it was kind of like this is the cards that were dealt to you, and this is how you're going to live. Like we live modestly. We go on a vacation once a year. We don't talk about money. We are humble and like, low key. And that was kind of what I always thought was that's the only option. And then people who were like having more money and more success, they were like dealt that hand, not knowing like I never would have thought that like I could get to that point. I knew I always wanted to live at the beach, but I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, but I'm gonna. But I grew up I wouldn't say in scarcity, but I do like relate to that. And I remember when I was pregnant and I wouldn't take maternity leaves after I had my babies, because I was in scarcity mode to think, I don't know, maybe that my client won't stick with me if I take like 3 months off and then they stick with another person, and I'm not paying for my bills during this time or not making an income. Like, that was like a scarcity mindset for me, not knowing like, hey, you can market when you're on your maternity leave. You can still do this, and then you're not coming from a place of scarcity. But I definitely was in that mindset when I had my kids.
And definitely. And scarcity itself is also and it's not the sense of feeling like you don't have enough, but I feel scarcity also comes with a really big sense of fear. Like Val said, fear that right now you're busting your ass, you're working 6 days a week as a stylist, you're in the salon 12 hours a day, you have 1 million clients a week, but you're so afraid to take any time off that you're catering 100% to your clients.
Yeah.
At that point, you're not the prize anymore. And that's something we talked about in last week's podcast. You are no longer the prize to your clients. They are. The minute that you give your clients the full power, that's what it is. You've lost the power. They don't see you as important as you should be. When you come from a place of scarcity, to me, the way I view it is, imagine you're at a bar, okay? So let's say you go to a bar. I'm just going to say you're a woman. I don't know because I'm a woman, so that works for me.
It works.
You're at a bar and you see this really cute guy and you're like, oh, shit. I'm going to fucking talk to that guy. That's for sure. So you go up to him and you're like, hey, do you want to go out sometime? And he looks at you and he's like, yeah, I do. Do you want to go out tonight? We can go out now. I'll take you out to dinner. And all of a sudden you're like, ah.
Too fast, too
you're
much.
Like, oh my God, that was very needy. That was very scary. You're fucking out. You're done. You want no part of that. But if he's like, yeah, that might be cool. Give me your number. I'll call you sometime. You fucking dig it. Every woman does. They're like, oh shit, he might call me or he might not. This is a mystery. This is great. Whatever. Right. But the thing is, when you are in that place of scarcity where you feel like you don't have enough clients, you don't have enough money, and you're constantly catering, you're actually losing money at that point. You're going to be losing clients because there is no place of power anymore. You are unable to make business decisions because the only thing running through your head is, I don't have enough. I don't have enough clients. I'm going to be poor. I'm not going to pay my bills. I'm not going to be able to feed my kids. We're not going to have a car. We're not going to have a house. And all of a sudden, you're in fucking panic central because the only thing you can think of is, I'm going to lose everything if I'm not here 6 days a week.
Totally. I feel like that is, people are going to be listening to this and be like, yep, that's me, because I 100% was there.
Yeah. Oh, dear God, I've been there as well. So along with scarcity, though, there's the other side, which is abundance. Abundance to me is having not even plenty, like you have enough, and I can attest to it with my clientele. I came from a place of scarcity. I was doing men's cuts, women's cuts, kids' cuts, which wanted to make me kill myself. Those were the worst. I even had one perm. Her name was Penny Ross. I just want everybody to know, I still remember my one perm. She was a very nice lady.
I feel like I know Penny by now. I'm like, Penny and her perm. She's a great time.
She was a very nice, wonderful woman. She was a minister inside a church. She was really great, but her and that fucking perm, man. But did I like doing perms? No, I did not. But in my head, I'm like, if I don't take this perm that comes once every 3 months for $90, thanks though. I just want everybody to know I charge $90 for a perm. And at that point, I was like...
Flashback to former Ani.
Yes, but that's really what it was. Literally, it was $90 for a perm. That shit took me an hour and a half to 2 hours because I hated it so much. There was no way for me to get faster at it because I was like, fuck these perm rods. This is the worst. And so, but I felt like I had to do it because if I didn't, I was losing money. I had a car payment to pay. I had bills. I had student loans. There was so much I had to pay that there was no way I couldn't do Penny's perm. Fast forward, me going into BMS, I realized, to me, I feel like one of the biggest shifts for me when I went from living in a place of scarcity to abundance is I realized that there is actually a different way to live. It's not all about you have to service every single client. It's finding the right client. And once I realized that, I was able to go from working 6 days a week to 5 days to 4 days to 3 days. And there was that place of panic of, I've lost my fucking mind. I'm never going to be able to pay my bills or take care of myself was gone because the more I marketed and the more that people came and sat in my chair, the more I realized this shit is working.
Right.
And it continues to work. And the more that it worked, the more that I pushed, the harder I pushed, and then the faster my business grew. So abundance to me is just having more of something. Once I came to that place of realizing okay, I'm getting more leads, I'm getting more people in my chair, and I'm not begging or pleading or there was none of that. I held my place of power as an artist and as a businesswoman. And because of that, clients were more attracted to me, actually.
Agreed.
They wanted to come. So for you, how was it your place of scarcity to abundance? How did you view that?
Very similar to yours, and also the fact of I wouldn't put up with the same bullshit, so when there's a client in your chair and they're just telling you what they're gonna do, or they come in with that attitude, or you're just not a right fit, not everyone's a right fit for each other. I know that I have marketing tools underneath my belt, and I know how to get another client in my chair. So I'm not going to put up with this. So everyone that sits in my chair, it's going to be someone that wants to be there, that wants me to do their hair, that trusts me in my craft, and I can be the artist that I want to be. And everyone gets like that amazing experience. So I feel like I tolerated less, even on the people who came in my chair, where before you're just like so excited, like I got a client, they're paying whatever, I'll just like listen to their drama, they'll be a dickhead, like, and all of that. And you just put up with a lot of shit because you're in that place of scarcity. Now that I'm in a place of abundance, like, you handle it differently, and like you say, it makes you more attractive. So I feel like everyone that sits in the chair, I had a new client yesterday, and Jill and I were working on her, and she was like just the perfect fit. Like we were laughing from like the first 3 minutes that she got there, and I'm like, this is what marketing does. It puts the perfect client in your chair. And then I feel like that's how it is every time. Like I have a new client that comes in, like we're immediately gelling and meshing because we're doing the marketing to get the right person in there. And I do feel like I'm coming in an abundance of like quality clients that I thoroughly enjoy working on. And I'm not like worried to like express to them, hey, this isn't going to work on your hair. I don't want to do this. Like I get to be me, they get to be them. And the end result is amazing because I'm not panicked. Like I just have to make them happy so they come back and they pay me,
Absolutely. And then also when you're living in that place, I will never forget this client. I won't use her first name because it's a very unique first name. So I'm going to call her Marshall because that's her last name and it's more common. So this client was very, very religious, which is fine. I was raised Catholic, not a big deal. My grandma still does the rosary to this day, like literally every single day. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or any place else, go watch this video because you're going to see I'm a heavily tattooed female. I have quite a few of them. And this client, the first tattoo I ever got on my arms that she could see, she looked at me and she's like, why would you do that to your body? What did you do? What are you thinking? What does your mother say? She must be so devastated. Now, my initial reaction was to be like, fuck you and your opinion that I never asked for. But I was just like, it's fine. It's okay. Because I was in a place of scarcity. I couldn't tell her that's actually very rude and disrespectful, and I don't appreciate it because I was like, don't make her mad. Don't make her upset. Just tell her what she wants to hear so she can keep coming back. She's paying your bills. She's paying your bills. And that was my continuous mindset. Fast forward 5 years later.
You put up with that for a while.
I put up with that 5 years, and I got a few more tattoos after that. The first one I got, or the second one that I actually got on my arm, it's like on the, what is the bicep? I don't even know what this part of my arm is. It's on like the outer shoulder area of my arm. Now this woman has super crazy coarse hair, super thick, and blow drying her would literally give me hot flashes. I was like, I'm gonna have a heat stroke. I'm gonna fucking die. Like it was so hard to do her hair because I was continuously wearing long sleeves in 107-degree heat because salons only get so cold some days. Like it was the worst. I literally, like, I could not get cool at all doing her hair. There came a day where I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I am exhausted. I'm tired. She's kind of a dick most days, to be completely honest. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I said, fuck it. And her next appointment, I wore a short sleeve shirt. And it was a really cute shirt, and I had a little jacket over. Eventually took the jacket off, and the minute I did, holy bejesus, I thought her eyeballs were going to pop out of her fucking head. She literally could not stop just looking at my tattoo and staring. She stopped talking to me, didn't really respond to anything, pre-booked her appointment still. That was an interesting one. Called me the next week and canceled it, and I never saw her again because she liked me because I fit into the little story of who she wanted me to be as a human being.
Right.
But the minute she realized that I had more tattoos, all of a sudden the hair that I'd been doing for 5 years that she loved every single appointment, every 6 weeks for 5 years, she never came back because of how I looked. Nothing to do with my work, but I realized in that moment, fuck you.
Yeah, you put up with some bullshit for 5 years because you were in that scarcity mindset.
Yeah, because I thought if I lost her, they would be down another client, I would be down this money, and then I'd be fucking poor all over again. So I bent over backwards to make her happy, not realizing I was making myself miserable in order to do that. And now my clients, I did a consultation last week or earlier this week, and I loved her because, in case you haven't noticed, I'm a total potty mouth. And the minute we talked, she's like, well, I had these other extensions and they're fucking stupid. I was like, I want her on my books. This is it.
That's my girl.
You my boy Blue. This one's going to work for sure. But it's true. We just continuously attract the people that, not that are similar to us, but the people that we vibe with, that we gel with, because we're not begging anymore.
Yep.
Scarcity doesn't exist inside DKW. Not because we're being handed things, but because we have now shifted to, we don't have to have every client. We just have to have quality clients, clients that we love and appreciate us as artists and as human beings.
Definitely.
And that, I feel, has been such a game changer. And not even just for us, but I feel like it's also been a really big game changer for the artists as well. Because a lot of our clients are seeing that now. I know we have, and I hear this a lot. People say, well, I'm a single mom, I can't do it. Well, one of our students is a single mom with twin, at the time, 4-year-old girls. Now they're 5. And she has hustled and hustled to get where she is now. And I see her numbers every single week. They're rising every single week. And she's officially taking like date nights with her daughters. And for the first time, I will never forget this. As you guys know, I'm a really, really big book lover. And this artist's name is Allie. I will never forget the day that Allie, I might even cry. This is like so emotional for me. I don't even know why I don't even have kids, but this like really stuck with me. She was, for the first time ever, able to take her kids out on a day date. And they went and had food. They went and did a bunch of activities. She took them to Barnes & Noble, which is why I keep talking about books, bought them whatever book they wanted. And it was the first time ever that she had been able to do that for her girls and not worry about spending the money, not worry about being poor, not worry about not being able to pay bills. There was no concern anymore. It was just a good time because she fucking hustled every single day to be able to do that. And every time like I think of that story, I can only imagine. You're a mother. You have 2 delightful, insane, wonderful children who I fucking love.
They're a good time.
They're a real good time. But can you imagine you have these kids for 4 years and there was never a chance to just be able to do something with them?
Yeah. Her story's super inspirational, and I find that with like so many of our students. We come from like different backgrounds, but at the core, we have such similar stories, and to see like everyone's hard work pay off, like profit-wise, yes, but like just that feeling of her being able to like enjoy her kids in that moment and not be worried about money, not coming from a place of scarcity, like we keep saying. Like she knew what she was doing was working and that she could take this day off and be 100% present with her girls, buy them the books, but that it wasn't about having the money to buy the kids the books, you know? Yeah. It was that whole day and the experience as a whole. And to me, like that's like the biggest part of the profit on my end is like we always say like I didn't know I was in a place of pain until like I look back now that I've had like, you know, a different perspective, and I look back and I'm like, poor Val was really like hurting and like so sad and not even knowing it. She just was putting on a brave face and like, this is normal and this is what I'm doing and I'm happy and this is cool. This is just what I do. And then now that I'm like in a different place, not only like the money, yes, it's nice. I love that. That is why I work. Like I need more money. But to have that freedom with my kids, to have that with like quality family time, like definitely my love language is quality time. Mm-hmm. And I love to be able to like have that with the kids and with Ryan, and to like have those vacations and like take weeks off in December. And like, you know what I mean? Like that is why I do this is, I mean, for the students obviously, but the income is great. And that's a great like way to determine like your profit, but having that like freedom to have quality time with my family, that's the most profit that I've seen from this program. And that's like what's hit me like home the most.
Oh, definitely. And then even with that, like you said, you didn't know that you were in a place of pain. And I feel like I'm like you in that sense. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I just worked a lot. I was just fucking tired. But
yeah,
the more I feel that my life changes now and I get so far out of scarcity. Like scarcity, it's not even that I'm so out of it. Like it's not even in the rearview mirror anymore.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even exist because things have changed here so much for myself that at the time, I didn't realize just how miserable I was. Because I've actually said to Val before, doing clients in general, you have to be on for clients, which is fine. Like every artist knows that no matter what business you're in, you have to be on a certain amount for clients. And for me, not that that's difficult, but I feel like my natural personality is here at BMS. This is just me all the time. This is just how I am. And it's very easy for me even to do a 3-hour training, or I did 3 hours worth of phone calls yesterday. Easy, not a big deal. It's my natural state. But to be in the salon constantly for 12 hours, 6 days a week, which is exactly what I was doing. Not only that, with clients that I didn't really like, no offense to any of you listening now, oops, I'm sure it wasn't you, it was everybody else, don't worry, you were the good one. But and then also doing services that I didn't even want to do anymore, it was literally killing me. Like I would leave the salon and not even talk, which in case you haven't noticed, I have no problem talking.
She's a talker.
What? I've been silent this whole time. You're stealing the show, Val. But it's always. But it was really that I was so drained physically because I'd been on my feet for 12 hours. I was drained emotionally. I was drained mentally. My clients were taking so much from me that I had nothing left. And I didn't realize that until I kept getting farther out of that place and out of scarcity and being a slave behind the chair and being at the beck and call to all of my clients, that I was fucking miserable. I was so unhappy, but there was no light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel just kept going. I had no one to show me that I didn't have to live that way.
Right.
Until I came to BMS. And then I was like, wait, you're doing what? You're what? And I will never forget the day that Val stopped working Saturdays, because Danielle didn't work Saturdays. Val's like, well, if she's not, I'm not. And then I'm like, Danielle didn't, Val didn't. Do I have to work Saturdays? And I was like, I don't think I do. And that just started to change everything. So talking about profit, profit is definitely money. Like, there's no way around the fact that, and I know we've laughed before saying money does or doesn't bring happiness. It depends on your view on it, but it does bring you safety, and it brings you your home and able to do different things with your kids and whatever. That in itself, even the sense of security, does bring you happiness. It takes you out of scarcity into abundance, but it's not just about the money. Because really, if you have a shit ton of money, but you're still working a ton and you're not enjoying any of it, you're not really living, as we always say, you're not really living your best life.
Right.
It's not enough. So when it comes to profit, the very last topic that we're going to talk about is not just the money portion. And you've already kind of touched on that, and we touched on that with our student Allie, but I know for myself, for me, my own personal sick pleasure is constantly buying books. Like, there's no convincing me that there is a book that's too expensive or too old or just like torn up and like beautiful. Like, that is something for me I have so much fun doing, but I couldn't do that without, yes, definitely the profit of money, but also like that's something that brings me joy. Like for you, it's time with your kids. And that's a lot. So what if you had all the money you're making now, but you still had no time with your kids? How would you feel then?
We've all seen how that works out. I am crazy cranky. I'm a raging bitch. And I throw tantrums when I haven't seen my family in a while. We've all seen it. So I know that. Like, I need that for myself. That's how I recharge. I know a lot of moms, like, they need, like, them time, and whatever it is that you need, like you need to tap into that. And we're very big here, like, about the core four and like having balance in all aspects. But I need, like, after a long time of like training and doing clients, as much as I love it, it does, like you say, like take from me. So how I recharge is hanging out with my family and not sitting in the same room with them, but still answering stuff on my phone. Like, that is not recharging to me. Like, I need to be my phone thrown to the side, outside doing some sort of like actual activity, engaging with them for me to like completely recharge and get back to my best. And because we've set up this amazing program, BMS, where now I know like this curriculum to follow, that I am able to do that. So I will work a long day at the salon and I leave, and there's a part of me that's drained, but not really, because I know that the balance that goes with it. So I know like tomorrow's going to entail this, but they're amazing clients. And then the next day I'm going to have BMS day. And then the day after that is going to be a day off with the family. And there's just like, I have enough space to recharge to then keep coming back and delivering my best work. And so instead of a vicious cycle, it's this amazing like happiness wheel that keeps going round and round, that I'm like delivering great work, getting the perfect clients in my chair, able to have time to recharge, replenish myself, and then keep at it, keep doing the work that I love to do, because we're all in this because we love it. We love to make people, you know, feel better about themselves. We love the art side of the industry, but there has to be some boundaries put around it so that you can have happiness in all aspects of your life and so you don't burn out.
Absolutely. And I know part of it for me is I love to travel. I don't sit still very well. I always say, I just want a constant adventure. I want to be doing something. And it doesn't even mean traveling across the world or doing something crazy. But last week, we had it was such a sunny, beautiful weekend. Like, I think it was like 70, 80, almost 80 degrees. It was so great. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take the day off. And I did. And I took the day off. This doesn't sound fun, but I made my bed. I cleaned out my closet. I went to the beach for a couple hours. My legs look tanner, but you can't tell. But guys, They really are. So screw you, Val. Thanks for that.
I know my tan's wearing off. I need another Hawaii vacay. Stat.
But it's that for me is part of the profit of what I'm seeing, because I know when it comes to production and power, like I have that, and I will Val and I, we will produce every single day of the week, because not because we feel stressed or like, oh, fuck, Garrett and Danielle are going to fire us, but because there is such like, I always say it's like a heart and soul passion for us to be here. Like the NBR side, the BMS side, this to us is literally our best life doing this. And because of that, because we keep producing and keep producing, we reap the benefits of it, which is the profit. And it's never just the money, but it is time and doing something new. And for me, it was leaving St. Louis. That part of it is the profit for me. And not that St. Louis is a bad place. We have students from there. I'm not saying that. But for me and my personality and who I am, it was literally crushing me.
Yeah.
It was, and I think I just had this conversation, might have been with you, or I think, yeah, that I felt like there was no getting out. I didn't feel like I belonged there. And it was literally like, I think it was at that point just crushing my soul to be there, because I knew I wanted out. When I lived in St. Louis, every 6 months minimum, I was taking a vacation. I'm like, I got to get the fuck out. I got to get somewhere just bigger and free and outdoors and just experience something new, because I knew I didn't belong there.
Yeah.
So part of the huge profit for me is literally just being here in California.
It's so true. I was texting with Garrett when we were in Hawaii on our vacation, and we were just like talking about work stuff, and then he was like, oh no, like I don't want to bug you when you're on like your family vacation, but I had been there 10 days. I was like, cool to like text a couple of things about work. But then he checked on me like when we got back, and I was like, fine to come back, because we were coming back to Laguna. We were coming back to palm trees and sun and like amazing weather and fun hikes, and we could kayak. Like the stuff we were doing in Hawaii, is so magical, and it was nice to like, you know, completely get away. But what we were coming home to is where people vacation too. And I'm like, life is like, I'm just like so grateful that this is like where we're at. But all the hard work, all of it, like the system works. And I am here to say that as like living proof that the system freaking works. And I'm just like grateful for it. And I'm excited to see like where it goes for DKW, for BMS, and for like all our current students and our future students. Like I'm excited for them to get a taste of this, because not everyone's like profit will look the same. Like what drives one person doesn't drive another. But like you said, like we both love being here and at the beach, so much so that we might be getting beach tattoos.
Maybe not in 2 days. We'll see, won't we? Tune in next week and find out if that happened.
But it's just like crazy to like that you were like a little kid. Like I know I always dreamed about being at the beach. I always said when I was little, when I wanted kids when I was little, I was like, I'm going to have a son and I'm going to name him Billabong.
Shut up.
Because I was like such a surfer girl inland, you know? And my parents
how's
were
little
like,
baby Billabong right now?
Billabong's thriving. And my parents are just like, she's so weird. But like my whole room would be like decked out with like, I would just get like surf magazines and like like I was born to be at the beach. And if you know me, you know my best life is with a cocktail in my hand and laying and tanning in the sun, like at the beach. I like it.
And that's really even, obviously St. Louis is super cold. They're actually about to go through another ice and super like big snowstorm coming up soon. But for me, I was born in Puerto Rico, and I feel like sun and sand, like that's like ingrained in who I am. Like totally. I'm meant to be warm constantly. And that's why the first time I ever even visited California, March of 2016, I was like, this place is magical. And then I heard of BMS. I came right back May of 2016, and I was like, I'm doing BMS. And then they're like, November, we're having BMS Part 2. It's 3 months of pre-training. We don't offer that anymore. We include that in our mastermind program. But then I was like, all right, I'm going back. So it blows my mind that in a year and a half, I went from, for the first time ever, stepping foot in this state to moving here and living here.
It's insane.
And it just, like,
that's a testament to the power of your commitment, you know? You've started out where you've said, like, your number started out at $4,000. I think it's safe to say you don't make $4,000 a month now.
And you know what? We'll talk about this. We're coming up to the end of our show. But yeah, I'm very, very open and honest about the profit that I've seen, especially when it comes down to money. And the reason is because I feel, although I get it's taboo and super trashy or whatever to talk about money, someone has to do it. Yeah. If no one is ever willing to open up that door and say, hey, this is what I saw, this is where I came from, then that sucks. So here's where I came from, guys. I started BMS in the first class was May of 2016. So I started there working 6 days a week, 12-hour days, making $4,000 a month behind the chair. And at the time I'm like, ooh, $4,000. I'm making great money. And then I'm like, wait, where's the rest of it? I'm very tired. What did I want to do on my day off? I wanted to nap and sleep. What a great life. I'm working 6 days a week and my one day off, I'm napping. So that's great. And so I took BMS, the very first BMS class in May of 2016. And then from there, by the time I hit August 2017, so it was just a little over a year, I was making over 20 grand a month. I went from $4,000 to 20 grand in barely a year. Because to me, it was Garrett said jump. I said, how high? He said, do this. I'm like, oh, you've lost your goddamn mind, but I'm going to do it.
Right.
Because that's why I believe in this so much. And I love BMS so much because it's not just like, come give us money. It's not what this is. This has changed my life so drastically that there are days like, and this does make me emotional, but I'll go and I'll take a walk on the beach and like, fuck, like this is my life.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's the biggest profit I see is I fucking did this shit. I did this shit myself. Yes, I had the help of Garrett and Danielle and Val, but at the end of the day, like I had to make those decisions. I had to bust my ass, and that is the profit that I fucking see. It's not just the money. Yeah, the money's great, whatever, but my whole fucking life has changed, and even with myself, I'm happier with me as a person, and that's something that no one can give you. You have to find that yourself. But that is, to me, part of the reward that I'm now seeing of having made all of those hard decisions and finding that place of power for myself and going through and doing all of the hard work, because there were days where it was literally bawling my eyes out because it was so fucking difficult. But now I look at it and I'm like, I would do it again and again. And I am still doing it every single day, because this is something. That's why I always laugh and say that I'm known as the mean coach, because I am. But I truly don't think our students will ever realize how much I love them, and that's why I do this. Because I've been where they're at. It's fucking hard.
It is. And it doesn't stop. I think that's the part of it too. It's an ongoing cycle, you know? Mm-hmm. So you have to keep standing in your power. You have to keep producing. You have to keep making those hard decisions to push you to grow, to increase your profit, to everything. But
then you protect all of it. When you start seeing profit, you don't give up. You fucking push harder. And that's what it comes down to, is pushing harder. And really, I needed Garrett to look at me and be like, don't fucking do that. You're going to do this. And I'm like, he's fucking crazy, but I'm going to do it. Garrett, for me, was the me that I am to my students. It was that constant driving force. And that's what we are now. So with that, we are coming to the very end of our podcast. Can't believe it's been an hour. I'm like, let's talk for another hour. This is so fun.
We got another training to get to.
Yes, we do. But with that, thank you again for being here again with us. And like we said at the very beginning, that we are officially sold out of the small BMS intensive classes throughout the summer. But if you're still curious about BMS and what the entire journey is and what the curriculum is, along with natural beaded rows, go to bigmoneystylist.com, and there you can watch a video of what we do, and you can apply to come join us and be one of the 300 artists that we will have in June. It was June 5th, 6th, and 7th in Huntington Beach, California at the Paseo Hotel. It is going to be insane. Whatever you're imagining, you have no idea.
You can't imagine it. I've been to it, and I still can't wrap my head around it. I'm like, that happened. That shit was crazy.
We set it up. We trained on it. We chose the curriculum. We literally stood on stage and did it, and we left, and we're like,
what just happened?
that fucking happened. All right. So, Coach Val, any last words?
Come join us. Make our tribe. Come join our tribe. We are excited to meet more stylists to help you grow and reach your goals. And yeah, come join us.
This will be, I can guarantee you, the last thing my students said to me before they left in February. They said, I didn't know that this is what I needed. I didn't know this is what I wanted in life until they came and they got it. And then they said, this is what I've been missing.
Yep.
And hearing that, just brings me so much joy, because they are at the beginning of a journey that they have no idea where it will take them, but it's going to be a great fucking place. So, guys, stay tuned for next week. And next week we will be talking about protection and going through all of the hard work, finding your place of power, doing the actual work, profiting from it, and then protecting what you have built. Because once you come to a place where you're actually seeing the benefits and the profit, that's not when you give up. Like Val said, this is a never-ending game. You never stop, because if you're not progressing, you're regressing, and that is a pointless place to be. So everybody have a wonderful time, and we will see you next week.